I'm Professor Daniel Maudlin from the University of Plymouth, and I'm going to take you on a short tour around the history of Powderham Castle, the story of the house that turned 3 times and the rise of a family from knight to earl in 5 Williams. This short film will share some of the discoveries made by staff and students from Plymouth and the University of Pennsylvania during our investigations here from 2016 to 2019. The story starts at the beginning of the 18th century when the Courtenay family moved here to Powderham from where they were living at Ford House in Newton Abbot. Standing here at the main entrance, surrounded by towers and battlements, Powderham certainly looks like a castle. As you can see in these before and after drawings by the architect Charles Fowler, everything you see on this side of the castle was built in the mid-19th century, and so is the newest, most recent addition to a house that has evolved over 1,000 years. The story of Powderham actually starts here on the north front when Sir William and his family moved to Powderham at the start of the 18th century. The Courtenays were coming to live in an old medieval house that had not been much changed for over 500 years. They did this because the house was important to the family. It was a statement in stone of their connection to the past, of their entitlement to the earldom of Devon, which in the 18th century had been in abeyance for a few hundred years, and Sir William was a knight, not an earl. A medieval manor house was a powerful family statement, but it was not a comfortable modern Georgian house. So one of the first things Sir William did was contract Exeter builder John Moyle to build this, the north front, a modern block of comfortable, fashionable rooms for his family to live in. The earliest record of this new north wing is this 1734 print where the wing can be seen to the right. If you look here at the north wall, dating from the 1720s, you can see where the original doorway has been filled in and the staircase that once swept down to an ornamental garden has been removed. Now they had somewhere decent to live, the family could start work on remodelling the medieval hall. It was Sir William's son William, the second of 5 Williams in a row, who took the Great Hall of the medieval Powderham and turned it into what you see behind me. A grand statement in the Georgian Rococo style. As you can see here, a grand Georgian interior was literally nailed up onto the old medieval walls. The original estimate for the decorative plasterwork shows that the work was carried out by John Jenkins and the stairs themselves by carpenter James Garrett, both of Exeter. Like the Stumbles clock in the marble hall next door, the work of Garrett and Jenkins shows the extraordinary quality of Devon craftsmen in the 18th century and shows how the Courtenays were keen patrons of local artists and craftsmen. The next change came in the 1760s. Now it was time to add a grand front, this, the east front, built by the second Viscount in the fashionable Gothic style. This is when the house moved for the second time from the north round to the east. We don't know who the architect was for this grand design, but we do have this unsigned, undated, beautiful architectural drawing. What we do know is that the east front was part of extensive building works, including the Belvedere and Gothic folly or garden house, now in the American Garden, that ran continuously for over 20 years. This fitted with a wider pattern of spending and fine living by the second Viscount, including commissioning the family's luxury yacht, the Dolphin, that was moored in the River Exe and used for parties and pleasure trips. As can be seen in this period estate map, in the late 18th century, the Gothic east front looked towards the River Exe with the main drive coming up to the door from entrance gates down by the river. Here we are in the bedroom directly above the entrance outside on the east front. We're here because this was part of the original architectural scheme as features in the anonymous drawing that we saw for the whole of the east front. While we're here, it's worth taking a look at the 18th century plasterwork that goes with the interior design of the room and is a very ornate Rococo style, but actually made of paper mache. After that, the run of almost continuous building activity comes to an end with this, the music room, built in the 1790s. And so our story of Powderham ends here in the Victorian dining room, built for the 2nd or 10th Earl in the 1840s, designed by the architect Charles Fowler. It's part of the west front where we started. This is the castle side of Powderham, but it's the newest, most recent part of everything you see. This is the last time the house turned around, this time moving from overlooking the River Exe in the east front to now looking west, inland towards Kenton. And that would be the end of a story about how a medieval manor house was turned into a Georgian country house and then became a Victorian castle, if it were not for the fact that Charles Fowler was also a master forger of the Georgian style. Many of the Georgian elements are in fact little changes made by Fowler, whether you're in the library, the stair hall, and all the secret doors. So when you visit Powderham, think about the house that turned round 3 times, of architecture tracking the rise from knight to earl in 5 Williams, but be cautious, not everything is as it seems.